There is a moment almost every Shih Tzu owner faces, and it always arrives without warning. One quiet afternoon, you pick up your little cloud of fur, press your cheek against its soft coat, and breathe in the familiar warmth. And then suddenly, a smell hits you. Not the usual wet dog scent, not the earthy smell from playing outside. Something sharper, sour, strange. A smell that makes your heart skip a beat as you whisper to yourself, "What on earth is that?" What surprises many new owners is the Shih Tzus are one of the few breeds that naturally have very little body odor. So when they do smell bad, it feels like a mystery. You have to solve immediately. Did you miss bath day? Is it the mouth, the ears, the fur? Or something more serious hiding beneath that adorable fluff? The truth is that every unpleasant smell has a very real cause. And once you understand it, the panic softens, the confusion fades, and you realize that even these smelly moments are just little signals, tiny messages your Shih Tzu sends when it needs help, comfort, or care. Part 1. The silent troublemaker. Sensitive skin. If there is one cause almost no one expects when a Shih Tzu suddenly starts to smell, it's this: skin problems. Hidden under that thick double coat is a delicate world that can easily become irritated, inflamed, or infected, yet it often goes unnoticed until the smell appears. Shih Tzu skin is incredibly sensitive. Their long, dense fur traps moisture, creating the perfect environment for yeast, fungus, and bacteria to grow. Just one small patch of irritated skin can release a surprisingly strong odor. Sometimes described as sour, sometimes musky, sometimes like spoiled cheesy popcorn. It's the kind of smell that makes you look at your dog with wide eyes and whisper, "Sweetheart, is that really you?" The difficult part is that skin issues don't always show obvious signs. There may be no redness, no hair loss, no visible wounds. Sometimes the only clues are subtle: your dog licking their feet more than usual, scratching their sides with a restless rhythm, or rubbing their body against the carpet in that slow, uncomfortable way that says, something doesn't feel right. By the time the odor becomes noticeable, the yeast or bacteria has often been growing silently for days, hidden deep beneath the fur, and your Shih Tzu, innocent and trusting, has just been living with that discomfort, hoping you would notice. But here's the tender truth once you understand what's happening beneath the surface. Caring for your Shih Tzu skin becomes more than a routine. It becomes a quiet act of love. Bathing with the right shampoo, drying every fold and layer of fur, checking the skin gently with your fingers. These moments turn into small rituals where your dog relaxes, exhales, and finally feels relief. A Shih Tzu skin is like delicate paper, beautiful, soft, but easily troubled if neglected. And when you learn how to protect it, the bond between you and that little fluffy heart grows deeper, warmer, and more meaningful with every gentle touch. Part 2. The hidden caves, ear infections, and the smell. No one expects if sensitive skin is the silent troublemaker. Then ear infections are the secret culprit that often catches Shih Tzu owners completely off guard. You don't notice it at first. Maybe your dog shakes its head once or twice. Maybe it scratches lightly at the side of its face, just enough to make you glance over, but not enough to sound an alarm. And then, one day, as you lean in to kiss that soft little head, a faint but unmistakably sour odor rises like a whisper from deep inside the ear canal. Shih Tzu ears are like tiny caves, warm, dark, and beautifully folded. Lovely to look at, but unfortunately perfect for trapping moisture. Their droopy ears block airflow, creating a humid little pocket that bacteria and yeast absolutely adore. It doesn't take long for that invisible dampness to turn into irritation, inflammation, and eventually a smell that becomes stronger each day. When your Shih Tzu begins to develop an ear infection, they don't complain loudly. They don't whine or pace or ask for help. Instead, they communicate in much softer ways: a sudden tilt of the head, a quick shake after waking up, or that delicate paw gently brushing the side of their face as if trying to soothe an itch buried too deep to reach. And you, standing there with your heart too soft for this world. Finally lean in and realize something is wrong. The smell of an infected Shih Tzu ear is unforgettable, sharp and damp, like something that should have dried out but never did. It lingers, clings to your hands after you check their ear, and reminds you over and over that your little one is carrying discomfort they can't verbalize. Cleaning their ears becomes more than hygiene. It becomes a conversation. A slow, patient ritual where you lift the ear flap, whisper soothing words, and carefully wipe away the moisture and wax. Sometimes they flinch. Sometimes they sigh with relief. Sometimes they just close their eyes and lean into your hand because they finally feel seen. And this is where you learn one of the quiet truths of living with a Shih Tzu. They won't always tell you when they're hurting, but when you notice on your own, their trust in you deepens. Ear infections require care, gentle handling, and sometimes veterinary treatment, but they also offer a strange, unexpected gift. They teach you to observe, to notice small changes, to tune in to the subtle emotional language of your dog. You learn to catch discomfort before it becomes suffering. You learn to become the safe place they need you to be. And once the infection clears, once the smell fades and your Shih Tzu shakes its head with new energy, you feel something shift between you, a tiny thread added to the bond you're weaving together day by day. Part 3. The breath they don't mean to share when the mouth becomes the source. There's a little shock every Shih Tzu owner remembers the moment your sweet, fluffy companion climbs onto your chest, gazes into your eyes with pure devotion, opens its mouth to yawn, and suddenly you're hit with a wave of breath so strong it feels like a personal attack. Not the soft, sleepy smell you expect from a tiny dog, but something far heavier, sharper, almost sour in a way that makes you blink twice. The truth, though rarely said out loud, is simple bad breath in Shih Tzus doesn't happen because all dogs smell. It happens because their teeth need help. Shih Tzus have small mouths with tightly packed teeth, and food particles hide in corners you'd never expect. Plaque begins to settle like dust on forgotten shelves. Tartar hardens into little yellow walls along the gum line. And slowly, quietly, bacteria take over building a problem your Shih Tzu can't explain. Only endure. At first, the signs are subtle. Your dog chews on one side more than the other. They hesitate before taking a hard treat. They lick their lips a little too often. When you try to examine their mouth, they turn away gently, insisting with their eyes. Let's not do this right now. But eventually, the smell arrives, unavoidable and unmistakable. It escapes during yawns, during excited panting, during those small, affectionate moments when they press their nose to your cheek. And even though it makes you pull back instinctively, their eyes look up at you with the same innocent trust as always. That innocence is what makes you act. Cleaning their teeth stops being a chore. It becomes an act of tenderness. The toothbrush stops being a tool and turns into a bridge. You brush gently, making little circles along their gums while whispering apology after apology. They squirm at first. They tolerate it next. And then, in a moment you'll remember far longer than the smell. They relax because they understand you're helping them feel better. Dental care is not glamorous. It doesn't create cute photos or heartwarming videos. It's not a fun part of owning a Shih Tzu, but it's one of the deepest expressions of care you'll ever give. Because beneath the bad breath is a quiet truth. Your dog can't tell you their mouth hurts, but they trust you to notice. As the tartar disappears and the gums heal, something else shifts too. Their kisses become sweeter. Yes, but the bond deepens. You begin noticing things earlier, responding faster, caring more intentionally. Your Shih Tzu may never say the words, but their soft sigh after brushing tells the whole story. Thank you for taking care of the parts of me I can't take care of myself. Part 4. The secret signal when the anal glands tell a story. you'd rather not hear. There are moments in Shih Tzu ownership that feel magical. Soft cuddles, warm naps, tiny paws stretching toward the sunlight. And then there are moments far less magical. Moments when your dog suddenly scoots across the floor like a tiny mop with a mission. Moments when a sharp, fishy, unmistakably unpleasant smell fills the room and you stop everything you're doing to whisper, "Oh no, please don't let that be what I think it is." It is. Welcome to the mysterious world of anal glands, the tiny scent markers nature gave dogs long before they became sleeping lap experts and family comedians. Shih Tzus, with their compact bodies and fluffy rear ends, sometimes struggle to express these glands naturally. When they become full or impacted, the pressure builds, the discomfort grows, and the smell, well, the smell announces itself before your dog even realizes it's happening. At first, you may notice subtle signs. A quick glance over their shoulder, a soft whine when they sit down, a sudden burst of licking under their tail. And then, inevitably, the telltale scoot your Shih Tzu dragging its backside across the floor with the determination of someone trying to erase a problem they don't understand. It's easy to laugh the first time. The movement is funny, the timing unpredictable, the whole situation absurd. But beneath the humor lies something tender. Your dog is uncomfortable, and this is their only way of asking for help. And so begins a different kind of caring. You kneel beside them, lift their tail gently, and check for swelling or redness. You wipe them clean even when they squirm in embarrassment. Sometimes you make a quiet promise to yourself to schedule a vet visit. Sometimes you sit on the floor afterward, holding them close because they looked scared for a moment and you couldn't bear it. The smell is strong. The task isn't glamorous. But love, the real kind, shows up in strange places, even here. When the vet finally expresses the glands and your Shih Tzu walks out with a tail held a little higher, a step a little lighter, you understand something profound. They rely on you completely, not just for snuggles and treats, but for the uncomfortable, awkward, unglamorous moments too. And the gratitude they show afterward is quiet but unmistakable. They sleep more peacefully. They follow you a little closer. They rest their head on your lap with the softness of someone who feels safe again. Because to them, you didn't just solve a smelly problem. You listened. You noticed. You protected them from a discomfort they couldn't explain. And in that simple, unspoken exchange, the bond between you becomes a little deeper, a little stronger, a little more human in its vulnerability. Part 5. The little things they carry home when the bed, the paws, and the world outside follow them in. For all the love and light a Shih Tzu brings into your home, there are moments when they also bring something else. Not intentionally, not proudly. Just quietly, innocently, because they don't know that a single careless moment can follow them back into your arms as a scent you can't ignore. It usually begins with a surprise. You lift your Shih Tzu for a cuddle, pressing your cheek against its soft fur, and suddenly you catch a faint smell of urine. Not overwhelming, not harsh. Just enough to snatch away your perfect moment and replace it with a puzzled frown. You check the floor, the bed, their fur, and somewhere along that exploration, the truth appears they stepped in it. A Shih Tzu's short legs and feathered paws are adorable. Yes, but they are also excellent at picking up whatever they walk through. A quick bathroom break outside, a fast squat in the wrong corner, a moment of distraction, and now a tiny bit of the outside world clings to their paws with stubborn confidence. And because they love you, they bring those paws straight to your lap. But it doesn't end there. Shih Tzus who aren't fully crate-trained may have accidents in their bedding without realizing it. They don't avoid the mess, in fact. They sometimes roll in it, snuggle into it, or curl up right on top as though nothing is wrong. And you, discovering this later, stand there with the kind of tired disbelief only a dog parent truly understands. Yet even this messy, smelly, inconvenient part of life reveals something honest about loving a Shih Tzu. They are small, they are imperfect, they are trying their best in a big world with a tiny bladder and even tinier awareness. And so, you wash the bedding again. You wipe their paws gently with warm water and a soft cloth. You lift their chin and tell them it's okay, even though they don't understand the words. Only the tone, your steady and forgiving tone. As you do this, as you clean and comfort and reset the home you share, something unexpected happens. You begin to appreciate the quiet responsibility of loving another being. You begin to see how tenderness is not in the perfect moments, but in the small acts of care repeated over and over. Washing, wiping, checking, teaching, forgiving. And each time your Shih Tzu steps out of the bathroom with clean paws or curls into fresh bedding that smells like lavender instead of trouble, you feel a tiny swell of pride. Not just in them, but in yourself, because you've learned to love in ways that are gentle, patient, and profoundly human. Your Shih Tzu doesn't know you're doing all this. They only know the world feels safe again. And they curl beside you, sighing softly as they fall asleep, trusting that whatever mess life makes, you'll always be there to make it right. When you look back at all these little stories, the skin troubles, the hidden earaches, the bad breath, the uncomfortable glands, the messy paws, the soiled bedding, they seem almost funny, almost unbelievable. Who knew a creature so small, so fluffy, so endlessly adorable could also be the source of such dramatic, strange, and sometimes downright smelly surprises? But this is the quiet truth. Every Shih Tzu owner eventually discovers the challenges are part of the love, not a burden, not an inconvenience, but threads woven into the bond you build together, one gentle moment at a time, because beneath every smell was a lesson. Beneath every problem was a tiny request for help they couldn't express. And beneath every inconvenience was the soft reminder that your Shih Tzu depends on you in ways deeper than words, deeper than instinct, ways that touch something ancient and tender in the human heart. You began this journey thinking you were simply bringing home a pet. But now you understand the truth. You welcomed a small soul into your life, one that trusts you with everything it cannot say. And that trust changes you. It makes you more patient, more observant, more gentle with the world, because you've learned how to be gentle with something fragile and full of love. In return, your Shih Tzu gives you the kind of companionship that doesn't fade. They follow you everywhere, not out of neediness, but devotion. They nuzzle into your chest, not out of habit, but comfort. They look at you the way only animals can, with a purity no human language can describe. And in those moments when their tiny body relaxes against you, when their eyes soften, when their breath slows into sleep, you realize something simple and profound. All the smells were temporary. All the problems were solvable. But this bond, this quiet, steady bond is forever. A Shih Tzu doesn't just live in your home. A Shih Tzu lives in your heart, messy, funny, imperfect, and completely irreplaceable.